Diagnosis of childhood apraxia of speech. Let's begin with what childhood apraxia of speech actually is. Childhood apraxia of speech is a rare, neurologically based speech disorder affecting around 1 in 1,000 people. It's described as developmental because it begins during early speech and language development. But unlike other developmental speech delays, childhood apraxia of speech does not typically resolve on its own, which is why some people continue to experience it into adolescence and adulthood. So yes, you can have childhood apraxia of speech as an adult. The name also helps distinguish it from acquired apraxia, which develops later in life due to brain injury or illness, and from progressive apraxia, which occurs as part of a neurodegenerative condition. Childhood apraxia of speech doesn't involve weak muscles or slurred speech. In fact, many people with childhood apraxia of speech know exactly what they want to say. The difficulty lies in how the brain plans and sequences the movements needed to say words clearly and consistently. Why diagnosis takes time. Diagnosing childhood apraxia of speech isn't straightforward. That's because many of its features overlap with other speech conditions like phonological disorders, oral apraxia, or dysarthria. There's no single test that gives a yes or no answer. Instead, your speech and language therapist will look at how you speak across a range of tasks and situations. They'll gather detailed information, not just from tests, but also from conversations, listening closely to how your speech changes with repetition, complexity, and support. Diagnosis usually happens over more than one session. That's completely normal. Your therapist is building a full picture of how your speech system works and what might be getting in the way. Step 1. Spontaneous speech. Natural conversation. Your assessment often begins with informal conversation. The goal is simply to hear how you speak when you're not under pressure. This could involve talking about your day, your interests, work, or anything else that helps you relax and communicate naturally. Your therapist will observe: do you use words consistently? Are certain sounds or syllables missing or inconsistent? Do you appear to struggle with specific transitions between sounds? Do your mouth or lips seem to be working extra hard? How easy is it to understand you overall? This gives your therapist a solid starting point and helps highlight areas that need closer assessment. Step 2. Elicited speech. When you're asked to say specific words or sounds. Next, you'll be asked to repeat certain words, sounds, or phrases. This might involve looking at picture prompts, reading aloud, or listening and repeating. Your therapist may use a formal test or keep it informal, depending on what works best for you. This step helps your therapist compare how your speech changes when you're asked to speak on command versus when you're speaking freely. In childhood apraxia of speech, speech often breaks down more during these structured or demanding tasks. They'll be listening for differences in accuracy, inconsistencies across repetitions, difficulty as tasks become more complex. Step 3. Oral motor exam. checking muscle function and movement. Although childhood apraxia of speech isn't caused by muscle weakness, your therapist will still want to check how your mouth, lips, tongue, and jaw move. They might ask you to smile, pucker, or move your tongue side to side. Repeat the same syllable like p, p, p. Switch between sounds like p, t, k. This part helps rule out dysarthria, which involves muscle weakness or reduced coordination, and oral apraxia, which affects voluntary movements unrelated to speech. They'll be looking for groping, where your mouth searches for the right position, reduced range or speed of movement, whether your movements are smooth, accurate, or effortful. And if you've ever been told you have low tone, this exam helps clarify whether that's affecting your speech, though low tone on its own isn't usually the cause of speech difficulty. Step 4. Motor speech exam. Seeing how your speech responds to support. The motor speech exam is where things get more detailed. Your therapist will ask you to say vowel sounds, single syllable words, words with increasing length and complexity, short phrases and sentences. And what's unique here is the use of dynamic assessment. This means your therapist will support you with prompts or cues and observe how your speech changes when help is provided. This might include breaking a word into parts, modelling how to say it, using visual or tactile cues. This step tells your therapist how much support you need, what types of support help most, whether your errors become more or less frequent with help, if your speech becomes clearer with repetition. They'll also watch for inconsistency, saying the same word differently each time, groping or hesitations before speaking, breaking up longer words into syllables like banana. Why childhood apraxia of speech can be so hard to pin down. Childhood apraxia of speech doesn't look the same for everyone. Some adults might speak mostly in short phrases, while others may have relatively fluent speech with lingering pronunciation difficulties or speech fatigue. Because of this variability, your therapist needs time to observe patterns, not just isolated errors. They'll combine what they see with information about your development, communication history, and personal experiences. A proper diagnosis is important, especially because childhood apraxia of speech is often misunderstood or misdiagnosed. And that's why it's crucial to be assessed by someone with experience in motor speech disorders. What happens next? Getting a diagnosis of childhood apraxia of speech might bring mixed feelings, relief, clarity, maybe even some frustration. But here's the good news. A diagnosis helps you access the right support. Once your speech therapist understands how your speech works, they can help you find the tools, strategies, and therapies that are targeted, evidence-based, and tailored to you. There is help out there, and you are not alone. At Speech Apraxia UK, we're here to provide trusted information, connect you to expert-led therapies, and link you with others who have similar experiences. To learn more, visit www.speechapraxia.co.uk. You'll find videos, resources and guidance, all focused on improving outcomes for our speech apraxia community. Together, we are Speech Apraxia UK.